She thought she was protecting herself when she crushed the heart of the gentle mechanic who dared to love her. But 3 months later, when he walked back into her life in a tailored suit and unshakable confidence, Zaria Cole realized she had made the biggest mistake of her life. What she didn't know was that the internet was watching, the whispers had already started, and her second chance at love was about to become a viral scandal that would test everything she thought she knew about her own heart. The man she once rejected for being not enough was now the one calling the shots, and the little girl who called them family was caught in the crossfire of a love story that social media was determined to destroy. But when the cruel memes started spreading and 6-year-old Mia asked if clothes really did make people better, both Evan and Zaria would have to decide, was their love strong enough to survive the judgment of strangers, or would pride and public humiliation tear apart the family they were just beginning to build? If you're watching this incredible love story unfold, hit that subscribe button and tell me where you're watching from, because you're about to witness the most heartwarming comeback of the year. The Friday afternoon sun slanted through the tall windows of the Ocean View condominium's lobby, casting long shadows across the polished marble floor. Zaria Cole smoothed her navy blazer and glanced at the clock, 4:45 p.m. Almost time to wrap up her shift as concierge manager. She held the phone to her ear with one hand while typing notes with the other. "Yes, Mrs. Chen, I'll hold your packages until Monday. No problem at all." Zaria's voice was warm but professional. She'd been managing the front desk for 2 years now, and she knew every resident by name, every delivery preference, every small worry about vacation mail. The lobby doors whooshed open, letting in the salty breeze from the nearby marina. Zaria looked up to see a familiar figure walking toward her desk. Evan Hart carried his 6-year-old daughter, Mia's small pink backpack in one hand, his work boots quiet on the marble. His hoodie was smudged with grease from his mechanic job, and his brown hair was tousled from a long day under car hoods. "I'll call you back if anything comes up, Mrs. Chen. Have a wonderful weekend." Zaria hung up and smiled at Evan. "Hey there, Mia's backpack." "Yeah, she left it by the mailboxes yesterday." Evan set the little bag on the counter. His blue eyes crinkled at the corners when he smiled. "Thank you for keeping an eye on her when she comes down here after school. I know you don't have to do that." "Of course I do." Zaria's heart did that little flutter it always did when Evan looked at her like she mattered. "She's a sweet kid. Yesterday she helped me sort mail for 20 minutes, very serious about making sure Mr. Rodriguez got his medicine catalog." Evan chuckled. "That sounds like Mia. She likes things organized." They stood there for a moment, the afternoon quiet settling around them. A few residents passed through, Mrs. Patel with her grocery bags nodding hello, and Mr. Kim heading out for his evening walk. Zaria felt Evan watching her as she straightened some papers on her desk. "Zaria," Evan said softly, Can I talk to you about something?" She looked up. His face had changed. The easy smile was gone, replaced by something nervous and hopeful and scared all at once. Her stomach tightened. "Sure," she kept her voice gentle. "What's on your mind?" Evan glanced around the lobby, then leaned closer to the desk. "I've been thinking about this for weeks, maybe months." He cleared his throat. "I really like you, Zaria. Not just as Mia's friend or someone who helps us out. I mean, I have feelings for you." The words hung in the air between them. Zaria felt her chest squeeze tight. She'd seen this coming, if she was honest, the way he lingered after picking up Mia, the way he always asked about her day, the way he brought her coffee sometimes, just because he was getting one for himself. "Evan," she started. "I know we're different," he said quickly. "I know I'm just a mechanic with grease under my nails, and you're this smart, put-together woman who runs this whole place, but I think we could be good together. I think Mia already loves you, and that means everything to me." Zaria's heart broke a little. Not because she didn't care about him, she did, more than she wanted to admit, but because of exactly what he just said. Mia. "You're a wonderful man, Evan," she said carefully, "and Mia is lucky to have you as her dad." She saw his face fall before she even finished. "But?" he asked. "But I can't." The words felt heavy in her mouth. "I won't risk messing up what you two have. Mia needs stability. She needs to know that the important people in her life aren't going anywhere. And relationships, they're messy. They change things. Evan was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was steady. You think I'd let anything hurt Mia? No, Zarya said quickly. That's not what I mean. I think you're an amazing father. But what happens if we try this and it doesn't work out? What happens to Mia then? She's already been through so much with her mom not being around. Her mom's been gone since she was 2, Evan said quietly. It's just been us. And honestly, you're the first person who's made either of us feel like maybe just us could be more. Zarya's eyes stung. She blinked hard, keeping her professional smile in place as another resident walked through. I'm sorry, Evan. I really am. But I care about you both too much to take that risk. Evan nodded slowly. He picked up Mia's backpack and slung it over his shoulder. I understand. I don't like it, but I understand. He paused. Will things be weird between us now? No, Zarya said firmly. Nothing changes. I'll still watch out for Mia. I'll still be here when you need something. We're friends, Evan. It doesn't have to change. Friends, he repeated. Something flickered in his eyes, disappointment maybe or hurt, but he smiled. Yeah, friends. Mrs. Patel walked by again, slower this time, her curious eyes taking in their conversation. Zarya gave her a polite nod. I should get going, Evan said. Mia's at Luisha's and I promised we'd pick up groceries before dinner. Of course. Give her my love. Evan headed for the door, then stopped. For what it's worth, he said without turning around, I think you're scared of the wrong things. Then he was gone, and Zarya was alone with the hum of the air conditioning and the weight of her choice. At 6:20 p.m., Zarya watched through the lobby's glass doors as Evan buckled Mia into her booster seat in his old pickup truck. The little girl waved at the building, probably hoping to catch sight of Zarya. Evan glanced back at the lobby once, caught Zarya's eye through the glass, and lifted his hand in a quiet goodbye. Zarya raised her hand back, then watched them drive away. She turned to the visitor log and straightened the pages that didn't need straightening. Her hands were shaking just a little. It's for the best, she whispered to the empty lobby, but her eyes stayed on the door long after the truck disappeared. Zarya's apartment was quiet, except for the hum of the microwave heating up leftover soup. She kicked off her work heels and rubbed her feet while waiting for the timer. Her phone buzzed. Keisha. Girl, why do you sound like somebody died? Her best friend's voice filled the small kitchen when Zarya put the call on speaker. I don't sound like anything. Zarya stirred the soup and tasted it, still cold in the middle. Mm-hmm. Talk. Zarya sighed. She told Keisha about Evan, about the conversation in the lobby, about the way he'd looked when she said no. Wait, Keisha interrupted. You told that sweet man no? The one who brings you coffee and asks about your mama's garden? The one whose little girl draws you pictures? It's not that simple. It is that simple. You like him. He likes you. Y'all are both grown. There's Mia to think about. Mia who lights up like Christmas morning when she sees you. That Mia. Zarya put the soup back in the microwave for another minute. What if it doesn't work out, Keisha? What if we try and it ruins everything? That little girl has already lost enough. And what if it does work out? What if you're throwing away something beautiful because you're scared? I'm not scared. I'm being practical. Keisha snorted. You're hiding behind that fancy blazer and professional smile because it's easier than taking a chance. When's the last time you let anybody really see you, Zarya? Not the put-together concierge manager, but the real you? The microwave beeped. Zarya pulled out the soup and sat at her small dining table. I have to go. I've got reports to finish. You can hang up on me, but you can't hang up on your heart forever. The call ended, and Zarya stared at her phone. Then she opened her laptop and tried to focus on work. But her mind kept drifting to the hurt in Evan's eyes and the way Mia always asked when she'd see Miss Zarya again. Meanwhile, across town in a small apartment that smelled like mac and cheese and fresh laundry, Evan was helping Mia sound out words from her reading book. What's that one? He pointed to a word halfway down the page. Friendship, Mia said carefully, breaking it into pieces. Good job, baby girl. Mia looked up at him with serious brown eyes. Daddy, are you sad? Why would you think that? You have your thinking face. You only get your thinking face when you're worried about the truck or money or when I'm sick. Evan closed the book and pulled Mia onto his lap. I'm not worried about any of those things. Sometimes grown-ups just have feelings to figure out. About Miss Zaria? His daughter was too smart for her own good. Maybe. I like Miss Zaria. She talks to me like I'm big, not little, and she always remembers my name. She's pretty special, Evan agreed. Are you going to marry her? Evan almost choked. Where did that come from? Luis said you should. He said she makes you smile different. Luis talks too much. But Evan was smiling now, the real kind of smile Mia meant. And no, baby, Miss Zaria and I are just friends. Oh, Mia sounded disappointed. Can we still visit her? Of course, nothing's going to change. But as he tucked Mia into bed later and sat in his small living room, Evan stared at the toolbox by the door. Luis had mentioned supervisor positions opening up at the building management company. Better hours, better pay, more stability for Mia. Maybe it was time to think about applying. Not for Zaria, he told himself, for Mia, always for Mia. But when he filled out the application online that night, he couldn't stop thinking about the way Zaria had said they were from different worlds. Maybe it was time to change that. At 9:40 p.m., Zaria sat at her vanity with her journal open in front of her. She wrote the same thing she'd been writing for months. I chose caution today. I chose Mia's stability over my feelings. I chose the safe path. She set her alarm for 6:30 a.m., turned off the lamp and lay in the dark, listening to the distant sound of waves from the marina. The apartment felt too quiet, too empty. She pulled the covers up and tried not to think about blue eyes and gentle hands and the way Mia said her name like it was special. Just before she fell asleep, she whispered into the darkness, "It's for the best." But her heart wasn't convinced. 3 months passed like pages turning in a book. Summer came and went. Mia started first grade. Evan's application was accepted, and he began working as a building operations supervisor, covering 3 properties in their area. The hours were better, the pay was steady, and most importantly, he could walk to Mia's school instead of rushing from the garage with grease on his hands. On a bright Saturday morning in early October, Zaria arrived at the community hall to set up for the monthly resident meet and greet. She loved these events. The chance to see neighbors talking, kids playing, everyone feeling like they belonged somewhere. She tied balloons to chair backs and filled coffee urns, humming under her breath. The morning sun streamed through the tall windows, and she could hear laughter from the playground outside, where early arrivals were letting their children run off energy. At exactly 10 a.m., she unlocked the doors and stepped back to watch residents trickle in. Mrs. Chen brought homemade dumplings. The Rodriguez family had 3 kids in tow. Mr. Kim carried a plate of his famous kimchi that would be gone within minutes. Then the doors opened again, and Zaria's breath caught. A man in a fitted navy suit walked in. Clean haircut, confident stride, an easy smile that lit up the whole room. It took her brain a full 3 seconds to recognize him. Evan. He looked different. Not just the suit, though it fit him perfectly, showing off broad shoulders she'd only seen in hoodies and work shirts. His hair was styled, his face clean-shaven. He moved through the room like he belonged anywhere he chose to be. "Oh my," Mrs. Patel murmured to Mrs. Chen. "Is that young Evan? My goodness." Beside him, Mia walked in wearing a bright yellow cardigan and patent leather shoes. She was bigger than Zaria remembered, her face fuller, her confidence grown, but she still pressed close to her father's side when she felt shy. Zaria forced herself to breathe, to smile professionally, to walk over and greet them like she would any other residents. "Evan, Mia, welcome." Her voice came out steadier than she felt. "It's good to see you both." "Miss Zaria." Mia broke away from Evan's side and ran to her, wrapping small arms around Zaria's waist. "I missed you. Daddy got a new job and we moved to a bigger apartment in Building C." "I heard about the promotion." Zaria looked up at Evan, who was watching their interaction with calm, pleased eyes. No nervous energy, no hopeful fumbling for words, just satisfied. "Congratulations." "Thank you." His voice was the same, warm and genuine, but something in his posture was different, more settled. "It's been a good change for us." People were starting to notice the conversation. Zaria could feel eyes on them, residents remembering the 3 months of casual hellos and nothing more, wondering what would happen now. "The coffee's fresh," she said, gesturing toward the refreshment table. and there are name tags if you'd like them. We'll find our way around. Thanks, Zaria. She watched him go, Mia's hand secure in his, and her heart did something complicated in her chest. He wasn't chasing her anymore, wasn't lingering at her desk or bringing her coffee or finding excuses to talk. He was just living his life, and apparently living it well. Mrs. Patel appeared at her elbow. Building operations supervisor now, they say. 3 properties, very stable position. That's wonderful for them, Zaria said carefully. Mm-hmm. Mrs. Patel's eyes sparkled with curiosity. That's quite a transformation, from garage mechanic to management in just a few months. Hard work pays off, Zaria said, and excused herself to check on the coffee supplies, but she couldn't stop watching them. Evan moved through the room with easy confidence, shaking hands and making small talk. When elderly Mr. Thompson dropped his plate, Evan was there immediately, helping clean up without making a fuss about it. When Mia got overwhelmed by the noise, he bent down to her level and whispered something that made her giggle. At 11:20 a.m., Zaria was refilling the pastry tray when she saw Evan helping Mrs. Rodriguez carry a heavy cooler from her car. He'd taken off his suit jacket and rolled up his sleeves, and for a moment, he looked like the same man who'd brought her coffee all those months ago. Same gentle hands, same kind eyes, same heart that put other people first. But when he straightened up and caught her watching, he didn't hurry over to talk, just nodded politely and went back to his conversation. Zaria picked up a marker and wrote, "Welcome," on a fresh sign for the registration table. Her hands were shaking a little, but she kept her smile in place. The safe choice, she'd told herself 3 months ago, the practical choice. So why did it suddenly feel like the stupidest choice she'd ever made? By 11:30 a.m., the hall had filled with the comfortable buzz of conversation. Zaria found herself near the quieter corner where the children's activity table was set up. Mia was there, carefully coloring a picture of a sailboat, her tongue poking out in concentration. "That's beautiful work," Zaria said, crouching down beside her. "It's for Daddy. He says we might go sailing someday when I'm bigger." Mia looked up with bright eyes. "Do you like boats, Miss Zaria?" "I do. I grew up near water, so boats always feel like home to me." "Really? Where did you grow up?" Before Zaria could answer, Evan appeared beside them. Up close, she could see the quality of his suit, not expensive but well-fitted and obviously chosen with care. His cologne was subtle, clean. "Mia, don't interrogate Miss Zaria," he said gently. "She's not interrogating me. We're just talking." Zaria stood up, very aware of how tall Evan was, how he seemed to take up more space now. Not physically, he was the same man, but his presence felt bigger, more confident. "Actually, I was about to tell her about growing up in Charleston." "Charleston," Evan repeated. "I've never been there." "It's beautiful. Lots of history, lots of water. My dad used to take me fishing off the pier every Saturday morning." "Do you miss it?" The question caught her off guard. It was the kind of thing the old Evan would have asked, personal, genuinely interested. But now it felt different, less like he was trying to learn everything about her and more like he was just making conversation. "Sometimes," she admitted, "but this place feels like home now, too." Mia tugged on Evan's sleeve. "Daddy, can Miss Zaria come sailing with us, if we get a boat?" "We're not getting a boat, baby girl. We were talking about maybe going on one of those sunset tours from the marina." "Can she come on that?" Evan's eyes met Zaria's for a moment. Something flickered there, not the eager hope from months ago, but not indifference either. "I'm sure Miss Zaria has lots of her own plans," he said diplomatically. "Actually," Zaria heard herself saying, "that sounds really nice. I love the sunset tours." "You should come with us." Mia bounced in her chair. "Daddy, say she can come." "Mia," Evan's voice had that patient parental tone that meant slow down. "It's okay," Zaria said quickly. "I don't want to intrude on your father-daughter time." "You wouldn't be intruding," Evan said, but his voice was careful, neutral. "But let's not plan the whole summer in October, okay?" Mia giggled. "Okay, Daddy." They talked for a few more minutes about boats and sailing and Mia's art project. Normal, easy conversation. But underneath it, Zaria felt something she couldn't name. Evan was kind, present, engaged. But he wasn't reaching for her the way he used to. There were no lingering looks, no searching for ways to extend the conversation. He was just there, solid and calm and friendly and completely self-contained. When Mia ran off to find the glue sticks for her boat picture, Evan and Zaria stood watching her. "She's gotten so grown up," Zaria said. "First grade will do that. She's reading chapter books now, loves anything about animals." "And you look good, Evan, really good. The new job suits you." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes the way it used to. "Thanks. It's been the right move for us. Better hours, better stability. Mia can actually count on me being at school pickup." "That's wonderful." "Yeah." He adjusted his tie, a simple navy one that brought out his eyes. "Actually, the suit's pretty practical. Lots of client meetings, property walkthroughs. Amazing how much more seriously people take you when you're dressed the part." Something in his tone made her look at him sharply. "You sound like you don't mind that." "Mind what?" "Being judged by your clothes instead of your character." Evan was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was thoughtful. "I've learned that sometimes you have to work with the world the way it is, not the way you wish it was. If wearing a suit means I can provide better for my daughter and get treated with respect while I'm doing it, then I'll wear 100 suits." The words stung, though she wasn't sure why. "You always deserved respect," she said quietly. "Did I? In a grease-stained hoodie asking out the most professional woman in the building?" His smile was wry now, not bitter, but knowing. "Come on, Zaria. We both know how that looked." Before she could respond, Mia came running back with a handful of ribbons she'd found at the craft station. "Miss Zaria, can you help me pick which one would look prettiest on my boat?" Zaria knelt down again, grateful for the distraction. "Well, let's see. What do you think? The blue one matches the ocean. Or the yellow one matches the sun? Good point. What does your daddy think?" Evan crouched down beside them, his suit jacket stretching across his shoulders. "I think you can't go wrong with yellow. Yellow makes everything happier." Mia grinned and held up the yellow ribbon. "Will you tie it on for me?" Zaria's fingers worked carefully, making a small bow at the top of Mia's paper sailboat. The little girl's hair smelled like strawberry shampoo, and her small hands were warm when she pressed them against Zaria's arms. "Perfect," Evan said when Zaria finished. "What do you say, Mia?" "Thank you, Miss Zaria. You're really good at bows." "You're very welcome, sweetheart." They stood up together, and for just a moment they felt like a unit, like they belonged together in this bright hall full of neighbors and laughter and ordinary Saturday morning life. Then noon chimed on the wall clock, and the moment broke. "We should head out," Evan said. "Grocery shopping before the afternoon rush." "Of course. It was good seeing you both." "You too," Evan said, and he meant it, she could tell. But it felt like the kind of "good to see you" that old friends said when they ran into each other at the store. Warm but distant, fond but finished. As they gathered up Mia's artwork, Zaria headed toward the supply closet to get more napkins for the pastry table. She was almost there when she heard Mrs. Patel's voice, just a little too loud. Well, now she notices him. Zaria's steps faltered. She glanced back and saw Mrs. Patel talking to Mrs. Chen, both women looking in her direction. 3 months ago, he was just the mechanic with the sweet little girl. Now look at him, suit and tie, good position, real prospects. Funny how that changes things. Mrs. Chen made a disapproving sound. "That's not fair, Patel. Maybe she's just being friendly." Friendly. Right when he's looking like husband material instead of just another single father getting by. The words hit Zaria like cold water. She ducked into the supply closet and closed the door, leaning against it and trying to breathe. Was that really what people thought? That she only cared about Evan now because he looked successful? That she was shallow enough to be swayed by a suit and a job title? The worst part was the tiny voice in her head that wondered if maybe, just maybe, there was a grain of truth in it. Not that she cared about his money or status, but seeing him confident and self-possessed, seeing him move through the world like he belonged anywhere he chose to be. It was attractive. It was very attractive. And that made her feel sick. Because if Mrs. Patel could see it, if other people were already talking, then Evan probably knew it too. Probably saw her looking at him with new eyes and understood exactly what that meant. No wonder he seemed so distant. No wonder he wasn't reaching for her anymore. She'd had her chance to see who he really was, suit or no suit, and she'd chosen to walk away. Why would he give her another one? Zarya spent 10 minutes in the supply closet, pretending to count napkins while her heart settled back to normal. When she finally emerged, the hall was buzzing with conversation and laughter. She could see Evan and Mia by the exit, saying goodbye to neighbors. She forced herself to walk over, keeping her professional smile in place. "Leaving already?" she asked. "Grocery shopping waits for no one," Evan said. "But thank you for putting this together. Mia had a great time." "So did I." Mia held up her sailboat with the yellow ribbon. "I'm going to put this on my bedroom wall next to my otter picture." "That sounds perfect." Zarya's voice was warm, genuine. Whatever was happening between the adults, Mia didn't deserve to feel any of that confusion. They walked toward the parking lot together, Mia skipping ahead while the adults followed at a slower pace. The October air was crisp, carrying the salt smell from the marina. "Evan," Zarya said suddenly, Can I apologize for something?" He glanced at her, eyebrows raised. "For what?" "For making assumptions about your world before. For thinking we were so different that it couldn't work." She stopped walking, forcing him to stop too. "I was wrong about that." Evan was quiet for a moment, watching Mia climb onto the low wall that bordered the parking area. When he spoke, his voice was careful. "Were you wrong? Or did my world just change enough to match yours?" The question stung because it was fair. "I don't know," she admitted. "Maybe both. But I think I was scared of the wrong things." "What were you scared of?" "Messing up what you two had, bringing chaos into Mia's life, proving that I wasn't good enough to be part of something that mattered." The words came out in a rush, more honest than she'd planned. Evan's expression softened. "Zarya, I know it's too late now. I know you've moved on, and that's probably for the best. But I wanted you to know that it wasn't about you not being enough. It was about me being afraid that I wasn't." They stood there in the parking lot, autumn sunlight painting everything golden. Mia was collecting leaves from the hedge, completely absorbed in her task. "It's not too late," Evan said quietly. "But it's different now." "Different how?" "I'm different. 3 months ago, I was asking you to take a chance on me. Now I know what I have to offer, and I know what I need for Mia and for me." Zarya felt something shift between them, not the desperate hope from months ago, but something steadier, more adult. "What do you need?" she asked. "Honesty, patience, someone who chooses us because we're us, not because we look like we fit some picture of what success should be." His blue eyes were serious. "Can you do that?" "Yes," she said without hesitation. "I want to try." Evans smiled then, the first real smile she'd seen from him all morning. "Then maybe we could start with coffee, something simple. No pressure, no expectations, just catching up." "I'd like that." "Tomorrow morning, Dockside Cafe, 7:30 before I drop Mia at school." "Perfect." Mia ran back over with a handful of red and gold leaves. "Look what I found. Can we press them in a book like you showed me, Daddy?" "Absolutely. Say goodbye to Miss Zarya." Mia hugged Zarya around the waist. "Bye, Miss Zarya. Thanks for helping with my ribbon." "You're welcome, sweetheart. I'll see you soon." As they walked to Evan's truck, Zarya pulled out her phone and texted Keisha. "Coffee Monday." The response came back immediately. 3 heart eye emojis followed by, "Don't over-polish. Be real." Zarya smiled and typed back, "I'm trying to remember how." Sunday morning found Zarya jogging along the marina boardwalk, trying to work out the nervous energy that had kept her awake most of the night. The sun was just coming up over the water, painting the sky in soft pinks and oranges. A few early fishermen were already at their spots along the pier, and the coffee shop was just opening. She'd almost finished her 3rd mile when she spotted familiar figures at the playground. Evan was pushing Mia on the swings while another man, Luis, she remembered, kept watch over a boy who looked to be about 8. Zarya slowed her pace, then stopped altogether. She didn't want to intrude, but something about the scene drew her. Evan looked relaxed in jeans and a gray sweater, his hair messy from the morning breeze. Mia was giggling as she swung higher, her legs pumping. "Higher, Daddy, I want to touch the clouds." "You're already pretty close," Evan laughed, giving her another gentle push. Luis noticed Zarya first. He was a stocky man with kind eyes and calloused hands, wearing a flannel shirt and work boots. He said something to Evan, who turned and saw her. "Morning run?" Evan called out. "Something like that." Zarya walked over, suddenly self-conscious in her running gear and ponytail. "I didn't mean to interrupt." "You're not. Luis, this is Zarya. Zarya, my friend Luis, and that's his nephew Danny." Luis extended a firm hand. "The famous Zarya. I've heard a lot about you. All good things, I hope." "Mostly good things," Luis said with a grin that took the sting out of it. "Evans mentioned you're having coffee tomorrow." News travels fast. He's excited, trying not to show it, but excited. Luis glanced at his friend with affection. "It's good to see." Mia jumped off the swing and ran over. "Miss Zarya, are you exercising? Daddy says exercise makes your heart strong." "That's right. Do you like to exercise?" "I like to run and climb and swim, but not when it's cold." "Smart girl." They talked for a few minutes about the playground, the weather, Mia's school. Easy conversation, the kind that happens when people are genuinely comfortable with each other. But Zarya was aware of Luis watching the interaction with shrewd eyes. "We should head back," Evan said eventually. "Promised Mia pancakes for breakfast." "With blueberries," Mia added. "With blueberries," Evan confirmed. "Zarya, I'll see you tomorrow." 7:30 at Dockside. As they gathered their things, Luis fell into step beside Zarya. "Can I say something?" he asked quietly. "Of course." "He's good at boundaries now. Took him a while to learn, but he's got them." Luis's voice was serious. "That little girl comes first, always, and he won't let anyone hurt her, including himself." "I understand." "Do you? Because 3 months ago he was a mess. Couldn't sleep, couldn't focus at work. Kept wondering if maybe he wasn't good enough, smart enough, whatever enough." Luis stopped walking and faced her. "I'm not trying to make you feel bad, but I need you to know what you're walking into. He's not that desperate guy anymore. He's figured out how to be okay on his own." Zarya felt the weight of his words. "Are you telling me to stay away?" "I'm telling you to be sure. Because if you're not ready to choose him, really choose him, not just try him out, then let him keep being okay on his own." With that, Luis walked away, leaving Zarya standing alone on the boardwalk with her thoughts. Monday morning arrived gray and drizzly, the kind of October weather that made everyone want to stay in bed. But at 7:15 a.m., Zarya was already dressed and checking her reflection one more time. She'd chosen carefully: dark jeans, a soft green sweater, minimal makeup, not too casual, not too formal, just herself. Dockside Cafe was a small place with mismatched chairs and local art on the walls, the kind of spot where regulars knew each other's orders and newcomers were welcomed with genuine smiles. Zarya arrived first and chose a corner table, ordering coffee and trying not to check her phone every 30 seconds. At exactly 7:30, the door chimed and Evan walked in. He looked around, spotted her, and smiled. Same confident posture from Saturday, but in jeans and a simple button-down. He seemed more approachable, more like the man she'd known before. "Sorry I'm a few minutes late," he said, sliding into the chair across from her. Mia couldn't find her favorite hair tie and wouldn't leave without it. "The yellow one with the little flowers? You remember that?" "I remember everything about Mia. She's hard to forget." Evan's smile was warm. "She is that." They ordered coffee for him, tea for her, and 2 blueberry muffins to share. The conversation started carefully, like they were both testing the waters. "How's the new job really going?" Zarya asked. "Better than I hoped. Turns out I'm good at managing people, solving problems on the fly. Who knew?" He stirred his coffee slowly. "And the respect thing you mentioned, it's real. Same skills, different clothes, completely different reception. Does that bother you?" "It did at first. Seemed unfair that putting on a suit could change how people saw me so completely." Evan paused, choosing his words carefully. "But then I realized something. I can use that. I can play the game if it means better opportunities for Mia, better schools, safer neighborhoods, more options for her future. You sound like you've thought about this a lot." "I have. 3 months of thinking, actually." The weight of those 3 months settled between them. 3 months of him rebuilding his life, his confidence, his sense of himself. 3 months of her realizing what she'd walked away from. "I'm sorry," Zarya said quietly, "for making you feel like you had to change to be worth my time." "You didn't make me change. You made me grow up." Evan's voice was gentle but firm. I was asking you to take all the risk. Your job, your reputation, your emotional stability. I was offering you a guy who worked long hours for not much money and came with a 6-year-old who needed a lot of attention. You were offering me your heart. Yeah, I was. But hearts don't pay rent or buy school supplies or cover doctor visits when little girls get sick. He leaned forward. I'm not the same man who asked you out 3 months ago, Zaria. I still have the same heart, but now I can back it up with something solid. She studied his face, the same kind eyes, the same gentle mouth, but with something new. Self-assurance. The quiet confidence that came from knowing his own worth. So what happens now? She asked. Now we see if we like each other without all the drama. No desperate declarations, no fear of what people will think, just two adults having coffee and seeing what develops. I'd like that. Good, because I'd like it too. Evan smiled and broke off a piece of muffin. Tell me about Charleston. You never finished that story yesterday. So she did. She told him about growing up near the water, about her father's Saturday morning fishing trips, about the way the Spanish moss looked in the evening light. He told her about growing up in a small town in Ohio, about learning to fix cars from his grandfather, about the day Mia was born, and how nothing had ever mattered as much since. They talked until 8:45, when Evan needed to leave for school drop-off. As they gathered their things, Zaria felt lighter than she had in months. Same time Wednesday? Evan asked. I'll be here. He paused at the door, looking back at her. For what it's worth, I'm glad you changed your mind. For what it's worth, I wish I'd been braver the first. Time. Maybe we both needed the time to figure things out. After he left, Zaria sat in the cafe for another 10 minutes, watching the rain against the windows and thinking about second chances. Her phone buzzed with a text from Keisha. How did it go? She typed back. Really good. He's different but the same. Does that make sense? Perfect sense. That's what growth looks like, honey. Zaria smiled and gathered her purse. Time to get to work. The week fell into a gentle rhythm. Coffee. Wednesday morning went even better than Monday. Less careful, more relaxed. They talked about books, movies, the funny things Mia said when she thought no one was listening. Evan told her about Luis pushing him to ask for the supervisor job, about the night classes he'd taken to get certified, about learning to iron his own shirts because YouTube tutorials were cheaper than dry cleaning. Friday brought dinner plans. Nothing fancy. Zaria would come to their apartment at 6:30 and she'd bring the main dish. Evan and Mia would handle sides and dessert. At 4:10 Friday afternoon, as Zaria was finishing up her shift and mentally planning the lasagna she'd promised to make, her phone buzzed with a notification from the building's group chat. Her heart sank before she even opened it. Someone had posted a side-by-side photo. On the left, a blurry image of Evan from months ago in his work hoodie, grease-stained and tired. On the right, a clear shot from last weekend's community event, Evan in his navy suit, smiling and confident. The caption read, "From Greece to Prince, guess who's interested now?" The comments started immediately. Mrs. Chen. That's not fair. Zaria is a lovely girl. Resident she didn't recognize. Come on, the timing is pretty obvious. Another comment. Nothing wrong with wanting a man who can provide. Smart woman? Mrs. Patel. People change. Maybe they're both ready now. Anonymous resident. Right place, right time, right outfit. Zaria's stomach dropped. She scrolled through more comments, each one feeling like a small knife. Some defending her, some clearly enjoying the drama, others making assumptions about her motivations that made her feel sick. Her phone rang. Evan. I saw it too, he said without preamble. I'm so sorry. I don't know who. It's not your fault. But Zaria. Mia was on my tablet playing a game when it popped up in my notifications. She saw it. Zaria's heart stopped. What did she say? She asked if clothes make people better. If that's why you like me now and didn't like me before. Evan's voice was strained. I told her no, but she's confused, and honestly, so am I. Evan, that's not. Let's keep tonight. We'll talk then, okay? I need to think about how to handle this. The call ended, leaving Zaria staring at her phone screen where new comments kept appearing. Her hands were shaking as she screenshotted the worst ones, then closed the app altogether. By 6:12 p.m., she was standing outside Evan's apartment door with a pan of homemade lasagna, her heart hammering against her ribs. She could hear Mia's voice inside, bright and excited. "Is that Miss Zaria? Did she bring the cheesy pasta?" The door opened, and Evan smiled at her, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. "Perfect timing," he said. "We just finished setting the table." Mia ran over in a pink dress with a small puzzle piece pattern. "Miss Zaria, Daddy said you made the kind with lots of cheese." "I did, and I brought you something too." Zaria handed over a small wrapped package. "It's a puzzle. Only 50 pieces, but it's got otters on it." Mia's eyes lit up. "Real otters? Can we do it after dinner?" "If your dad says it's okay." Dinner was easier than Zaria had expected. Mia chattered about school, about her friend Sophie, who had a pet hamster, about the chapter book she was reading. Evan joined in, asking questions and making jokes that had Mia giggling into her milk. But underneath the normal family dinner atmosphere, Zaria could feel the tension. Evan was watching her carefully, measuring her responses, her comfort level with Mia's easy affection. After they cleared the dishes, Mia insisted on starting the otter puzzle immediately. They spread it out on the coffee table, and Zaria found herself on the floor between father and daughter, hunting for edge pieces. "Miss Zaria," Mia said after they'd been working quietly for a few minutes, "do you think I look different when I wear my fancy dress versus my play clothes?" Zaria's hands stilled on a puzzle piece. "You always look beautiful to me, sweetheart. Clothes are just clothes. They're not what makes someone special. But some clothes are fancier than others, right?" "They are. But fancy doesn't mean better. It just means different." Mia considered this seriously. "So Daddy wasn't better when he had grease on his shirt?" "No, honey. Your daddy is wonderful exactly the way he is. Grease or no grease, fancy clothes or regular clothes. The same kind, smart, caring man either way." "Good," Mia said firmly, "because I like him both ways. But I like it better when he doesn't have to work late." Over Mia's head, Zaria caught Evan's eye. He was watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. At 8:00 it was time for Mia's bedtime routine. Evan carried her to brush her teeth while Zaria cleaned up the puzzle pieces. When he came back, they were alone for the first time all evening. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for what you said about the clothes." She needed to hear that. "I meant it. I know you did. That's what makes this so hard." They sat on opposite ends of the couch, the space between them feeling vast. "I need you to understand something," Evan said carefully. "That meme, those comments, they're going to follow us if we do this. People are going to assume the worst no matter what we say or do." "I know. And Mia's going to hear things. She's going to have questions. She might get teased at school." His voice was getting tighter. "I can't expose her to that unless I'm absolutely sure this is real." "It is real, Evan." "Is it?" "Because 3 months ago, I was the same man with the same heart and the same love for my daughter. The only thing that's changed is my job and my wardrobe." Zaria felt tears sting her eyes. "That's not why. Isn't it? At least a little bit?" He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "Look, I'm not blaming you. Maybe you needed to see me confident and stable before you could take the risk. Maybe that's just human nature. But I need to know that you're choosing me, not the version of me that fits better into your world." The words hung between them, honest and painful and fair. "I was scared," Zaria said finally. 3 months ago, I was terrified of messing up something beautiful. Your relationship with Mia, your family. I convinced myself I was protecting you both, but really I was protecting myself from being vulnerable. And now? Now I see a man who fought for what he wanted, who didn't just accept my rejection, but used it to become even stronger. Now I see someone who built a better life not to prove anything to me, but to give his daughter every advantage he could. She paused, searching for the right words. "I'm not falling for your suit, Evan. I'm falling for your courage." Evan was quiet for a long moment. When he looked at her again, his eyes were softer. "I want to believe that," he said, "but I need us to go slow, really slow. Mia's heart is on the line here, and she's already been through enough changes. Whatever pace you need. And if those comments get worse, if people start treating us like we're some kind of social experiment or gold digger story, then we handle it together, calmly, with dignity. And we show Mia that what other people think doesn't change who we are or how we feel about each other." Something in Evan's posture relaxed. Okay, we try this, but we do it right. What does that look like? Dinner twice a week, Saturday afternoon walks when weather permits. No sleepovers, no dramatic declarations, no playing house. We get to know each other as we are now, and we let Mia get used to the idea gradually. That sounds perfect. Evan smiled then, the first completely genuine smile she'd seen from him all evening. Good, because despite everything, I really want this to work. So do I. At 8:45, Zaria gathered her things to leave. In the hallway, Evan caught her hand. For what it's worth, he said quietly, I think you're brave now, braver than I was 3 months ago. Thank you for the second chance. Thank you for being worth it. As she walked down the stairs to her own apartment, Zaria felt something she hadn't felt in months. Hope. Real, solid, grounded hope. Not the desperate kind that grasped at possibilities, but the patient kind that was willing to work for what it wanted. Her phone buzzed with a text from Evan. Saturday Tootie? Boardwalk walk? She typed back, I'll bring the coffee. 2 floors up, Evan was checking on his sleeping daughter when his phone buzzed again. This time it was Luis. Heard about the meme. You okay? Yeah, better than okay, actually. Good. She seems like the real deal. She is. We're going to take it slow, though. Do it right this time. Smart man. Mia's lucky to have you looking out for her. Evan tucked his phone away and kissed his daughter's forehead. For the first time in months, the future felt bright and full of possibilities, and this time he was building it on solid ground. Saturday afternoon arrived with the kind of perfect October weather that made everyone want to be outside. The sky was clear blue, the air crisp but not cold, and the marina boardwalk was busy with families enjoying the weekend. Zaria arrived at their meeting spot at exactly 2 p.m., carrying a small thermos of coffee and wearing jeans, sneakers, and a soft purple sweater that brought out the warm tones in her skin. She spotted Evan and Mia near the ice cream stand, Mia bouncing on her toes while Evan held her hand. Miss Zaria, Mia ran over, her yellow ribbon bright in her dark hair. Daddy says we can get cotton candy if we walk all the way to the lighthouse. That sounds like a good deal, Zaria said, smiling at Evan over Mia's head. How far is it to the lighthouse? About a mile, Evan said. He was in jeans and a gray Henley shirt, relaxed and comfortable. Think you're up for it, city girl? I think I can manage, Zaria laughed. I did grow up near water, remember? They started walking, Mia between them, chattering about everything she saw. The sailboats in the marina, the seagulls fighting over dropped French fries, the man playing guitar near the pier. She was completely at ease with both adults, sometimes taking Evan's hand, sometimes taking Zaria's, sometimes skipping ahead and calling back to them. She's in such a good mood, Zaria observed as Mia stopped to examine an interesting shell. She's been excited about today since Tuesday. I think she likes having someone to show off to. Evan's voice was warm. She's been practicing her reading so she could read you some of her favorite books. That's sweet. She's gotten attached to you pretty quickly, Evan said, and there was something careful in his tone. I just want to make sure that I'm not going anywhere, Zaria finished. I know, and I'm not planning to. They walked in comfortable silence for a few minutes, watching Mia collect shells and arrange them in patterns on the boardwalk railing. The afternoon sun was warm on their backs, and Zaria found herself relaxing in a way she hadn't in months. Can I ask you something? She said eventually. Sure. That morning at the coffee shop when you said you weren't the same man who asked me out 3 months ago, what did you mean exactly? Evan considered the question while they walked. I guess I mean I stopped waiting for permission to take up space. For 3 years after Mia's mom left, I felt like I had to make myself smaller. Apologize for needing time off when Mia was sick, for not being available for overtime, for having different priorities than everyone else. He paused to help Mia climb onto a bench to get a better view of a fishing boat. And then when I asked you out, I was doing the same thing, asking you to overlook all the ways I didn't fit into your world. You fit fine. Do I? Because 3 months ago I don't think you thought so. It was a fair point, and it stung a little. You're right, but not for the reasons you think. What were the reasons? Zaria watched Mia jump down from the bench and run ahead to examine a crab that had scuttled onto the walkway. I was scared that I didn't know how to be part of a family. My parents divorced when I was 12, and after that it was just me and my mom. And she was so focused on making sure we looked successful, making sure I had every advantage, that I never learned how to just be with people, how to be comfortable with ordinary, everyday love. And now? Now I think ordinary, everyday love might be exactly what I've been looking for my whole life. Evan stopped walking and looked at her, really looked at her. Zarya. Cotton candy time, Mia announced, running back to them. I made it all the way to the lighthouse, did you see? They had indeed reached the small lighthouse at the end of the boardwalk. The cotton candy vendor was set up in a small cart nearby, spinning pink and blue sugar clouds. What color do you want, sweetheart? Evan asked. Pink. And can Miss Zarya share it with me? If Miss Zarya wants to get sticky fingers, Evan said, grinning. I think I can handle sticky fingers, Zarya said. They found a bench overlooking the water and shared the cotton candy, Mia sitting between them and narrating everything she saw. A pelican diving for fish, a couple taking wedding photos near the rocks, an old man feeding seagulls despite the "do not feed birds" sign. This is nice, Mia said contentedly, her face pink with sugar, like a real family. Zarya felt her heart do something complicated in her chest. Beside her, Evan went very still. Mia, he said gently, remember what we talked about. Miss Zarya and I are friends, good friends. I know, Mia said matter-of-factly, but it feels like family, the good kind, where people take care of each other and nobody yells. Neither adult knew what to say to that. Mia seemed unaware of the weight of her words, too busy watching a young couple walk by with their toddler. Look how little that baby is, she exclaimed. Were there babies when you were little, Miss Zarya? I was the baby, Zarya said. I didn't have any brothers or sisters. Me neither. But Daddy says that's okay because we have each other. That's exactly right, Evan said, smoothing Mia's hair. They sat there for a while longer, talking and watching the water. At one point, a kind stranger offered to take a photo of the three of them, and Zarya found herself saying yes before she could think about it. They arranged themselves on the bench, Evan on one side, Zarya on the other, Mia in the middle, and smiled at the camera. Beautiful family, the stranger said as he handed Zarya's phone back. Thank you, Zarya said automatically, then caught Evan's eye. He was smiling, but there was something thoughtful in his expression. As they started the walk back, Mia running ahead again, Evan moved closer to Zarya. About what Mia said, he began. She's 6, she says what she feels. That's what worries me. Evan's voice was quiet. She's getting attached really fast. If things don't work out between us, they will, Zarya said, surprising herself with the certainty in her voice. Evan stopped walking. How do you know? Because I've never felt this right with anyone before. Because watching you with Mia makes me want to be better. Because for the first time in my life, I'm not trying to be someone I'm not. She paused. And because I think you feel it too. They were standing close now, close enough that Zarya could see the flecks of gold in Evan's blue eyes, close enough that when he reached up to brush a strand of hair from her face, she could feel the warmth of his skin. I do feel it, he said softly. It scares the hell out of me, but I feel it. Good, she whispered. Being scared means it matters. Evan leaned down, and Zarya met him halfway. Their first kiss was soft and patient and full of promise. It tasted like cotton candy and salt air and hope. When they broke apart, Mia was standing 3 feet away, grinning. Daddy's kissing Miss Zarya, she announced to no one in particular, then went back to chasing seagulls. So much for keeping it simple, Evan said, but he was smiling. Some things are worth being complicated for, Zarya replied. They walked back hand in hand, Mia skipping ahead and occasionally running back to grab their free hands and swing between them. For 2 hours, they felt like exactly what that stranger had called them. A beautiful family. By 5:30 that evening, they were back at the condo building, tired and happy and slightly sunburned. Mia was drooping with exhaustion but fighting sleep the way 6-year-olds do. Can Miss Zarya come up and see my otter collection? She asked as they stood in the lobby. Another time, baby girl, Evan said. You need a bath and dinner. But I want to show her my books too. Next time, Zarya promised. But right now you should listen to your daddy. Mia hugged Zarya around the waist. Today was the best day ever. It really was, Zarya agreed, meaning it completely. After they went upstairs, Zarya checked her phone for the first time all afternoon. 17 missed notifications from the building group chat. Her heart sank before she even opened it. Someone had taken their photo from earlier, the one with all three of them smiling on the bench, and posted it in the chat. But this time, they'd added it to the existing meme thread. The new image showed their family photo with the caption, "Proof, before the suit versus after the suit. Guess love really is blind to everything but success." The comments were worse than before. OMG, they actually look like a real family now. I mean, good for her. Secure the bag, sis. This is actually kind of gross. Poor guy probably thinks she cares about him. Plot twist. Maybe she really does care now that he's not broke. That little girl's so sweet. I hope this works out for her sake. Anyone else think this whole thing is sketchy? Like, what are the odds she falls for him right when he gets promoted? Zarya felt sick. She scrolled through more comments, each one making her stomach clench tighter. Then her phone rang. Zarya! It was Evan, and his voice was strained. Did you see it? I'm looking at it now. Evan, I'm so sorry. It's not your fault. But there's something else. He paused. My phone's been ringing. That photo got shared outside our building chat. Someone sent it to one of those local social media pages that posts neighborhood drama. It's got 300 likes and spreading. Zarya's legs gave out. She sat down hard on her couch, staring at the screenshot. What does that mean? It means this isn't just building gossip anymore. Mia's going to see this at school. Other parents are going to know about it. And my mom just called asking why her friends are sending her memes about her son. The weight of it crashed over her. This wasn't just about them anymore. This was about Mia, about Evan's reputation at work, about their ability to move through their community without being the subject of cruel jokes. What do we do? She whispered. I don't know, Evan said honestly. I need to think, and I need to figure out how to explain this to Mia if she hears about it at school. Should I come over? Maybe we should talk about this together. Not tonight. I need some space to process this. His voice was gentler than his words. This isn't your fault, Zarya, but I need to protect my daughter. That has to come first. I understand. I'll call you tomorrow, okay? The line went dead, leaving Zarya alone with her phone and a social media storm that painted her as a shallow gold digger and Evan as a naive man being used for his newfound success. She scrolled through the comments until she couldn't anymore, then threw her phone across the room and cried. Sunday morning was gray and drizzly, matching Zarya's mood perfectly. She'd slept badly, checking her phone every hour to see if Evan had texted. He hadn't. At 8 p.m., she made coffee and sat at her kitchen table, staring at her phone. She'd written and deleted a dozen messages. I'm sorry. This will blow over. Don't let them win. I love you. But what was there to say? The damage was done. Their private moment had been twisted into public entertainment, and there was no taking it back. A soft knock at her door interrupted her spiraling thoughts. She opened it to find Mrs. Patel holding a plate of homemade cookies. May I come in, dear? Zarya stepped aside, surprised. I wanted to apologize, Mrs. Patel said without preamble. For my part in the gossip, for not correcting people when they made ugly assumptions, for letting this get as far as it did. It's not your fault, Mrs. Patel. Isn't it? I've lived in this building for 12 years, and I pride myself on knowing everyone's business, but I forgot that real people's hearts are involved. The older woman sat down at Zarya's table. That young man is a good father. He's worked hard to build a stable life for his daughter, and you're a kind woman who's been nothing but professional and helpful to everyone here. Then why is everyone so eager to believe the worst about us? Because it's easier than believing in real love, dear. It's easier to think people are motivated by greed or status than to accept that sometimes good people find each other. Mrs. Patel reached across the table and patted Zarya's hand. But I've seen how you look at that little girl, and I've seen how she lights up when she talks about you. That's not fake. Zarya felt tears sting her eyes. It doesn't matter what's real if everyone believes the lies. It matters to the people who count. Evan knows who you are. Mia knows who you are. That's enough to build on. At noon, Keisha arrived uninvited with takeout and a fierce expression. I saw the posts, she said, setting bags of food on the counter, and I have thoughts. I don't want to hear them. Too bad. First thought, people are terrible, and the internet makes them worse. Second thought, none of this changes the fact that you and that man are perfect for each other. Third thought, you don't owe strangers on the internet an explanation for your feelings. It's not about strangers. It's about our community, Mia's school, Evan's work reputation. All of which will move on to the next piece of gossip within a week if you let them. Keisha unpacked containers of Thai food. The question is, are you going to let a bunch of bored people with too much time on their hands ruin something beautiful? What if they're right? Zarya asked quietly. What if I really am just attracted to the successful version of him? Girl, Keisha looked at her seriously. Do you remember what you told me after your first coffee date with him? You said he was the same man but stronger. You said watching him handle his life with confidence was attractive, but not because it made him worth more, because it made him more himself. I remember. And do you remember what you said after dinner at his apartment? That you weren't falling for his suit, but for his courage? Keisha sat down, across from her. That doesn't sound like gold digging to me. That sounds like a woman who needed to see a man's strength before she could trust him with her heart. They ate in comfortable silence for a while, rain pattering against the windows. What should I do? Zarya asked eventually. What you should have done months ago. Stop defending yourself to people who don't matter and focus on the two people who do. At 8:45 that night, Zarya sat down with a pen and paper. Not her laptop, not her phone. Actual stationery that she kept for special occasions. If she was going to pour her heart out, it deserved more than a text message. She thought about Evan's words from their first coffee date. Same heart, but now I can back it up with something solid. She thought about Mia asking if clothes made people better. She thought about Luis's warning about being sure, and then she started writing. 2 letters, one for the little girl who'd called them a family, and one for the man who'd taught her that love was a choice you made every day, not just a feeling that happened to you. When she finished, she folded both letters carefully and slipped them into envelopes. The yellow ribbon from Mia's sailboat went into the second envelope, a reminder of simpler times before social media and gossip had complicated everything. At 6:10 Monday morning, she walked upstairs to Evan's apartment and slid both envelopes under his door. She could hear the soft sound of them hitting the floor, then Mia's voice saying, "Daddy, what's that?" Zarya didn't wait to hear the answer. She went back downstairs, got dressed for work, and prepared to face whatever came next. But for the first time since Saturday afternoon, she felt like herself again. Not the polished professional version, not the defensive woman trying to prove her motives, just Zarya, who loved a good man and his daughter and was willing to fight for them both. The letters would say everything she couldn't, and then it would be up to Evan to decide if their love was worth the noise. At 7:25 Monday morning, Evan was making coffee when he heard Mia's excited voice from the living room. "Daddy, there's letters under the door. One has my name on it." Evan found her holding 2 white envelopes, examining them with the serious attention she gave to important things. "This one's for you," she said, handing him the thicker envelope. "Can I open mine?" "Go ahead, baby girl." Evan watched his daughter carefully open her envelope and pull out a single sheet of paper. Her face lit up as she recognized her own name, written in careful block letters. It says, "Dear Mia," she read slowly. "I like our glue days and your otter. I'm sorry I missed today. I want the ordinary days with you. Love, Miss Zarya." Mia looked up confused. What does ordinary days mean? It means regular days, like doing puzzles and eating dinner and helping with homework. Not special occasion days, just regular family days. "Oh," Mia's face brightened. "That sounds nice. I like ordinary days with Miss Zarya too." As Mia went to brush her teeth, Evan opened his own letter. A yellow ribbon fell out first. He recognized it as the one they'd tied to Mia's sailboat. Then he unfolded the paper. "Dear Evan," he read silently. "No defenses. I was wrong to hide behind image, yours or mine. I choose the truck, the lunches, the inhaler in the backpack. I choose Tuesday morning coffees and Saturday boardwalks and the way you sing off-key to Mia in the mornings. I choose the man who taught me that love isn't about finding someone who fits your world, but about building a new world together. If trust can be rebuilt, I'm here. Slow and steady, Love, Zaria. Evan read the letter twice, then sat down heavily at his kitchen table. His phone rang, his mother's number. Morning, Mom. Evan, honey, I wanted to call about those pictures people have been sending me. Evan's shoulders tensed. What about them? I wanted you to know that I don't care what strangers on the internet think about your love life. What I care about is whether you and Mia are happy. Her voice was gentle but firm. And from what I can see in those photos, you look happier than you've been in years. Mom, I also wanted to apologize. For months ago, when I suggested you give that young woman some space, I was worried about you getting hurt, but I was wrong to interfere. If she makes you smile like that, then I'm on her side. After the call ended, Evan sat quietly for a moment, holding Zaria's letter and watching Mia pack her backpack. His daughter was humming one of their favorite songs, the yellow ribbon now tied around the strap of her school bag. Ready for school, baby girl? Yep. Can we see Miss Zaria today? Evan looked at the letters, at his daughter's hopeful face, at the ribbon that represented simpler times when the only thing that mattered was making a little girl's art project prettier. Yeah, he said, surprising himself. I think we can. As they walked to school, Mia's small hand in his, Evan made a decision. He would ask Zaria to walk home with them this afternoon, through the busiest streets, past the nosiest neighbors, with no apologies and no explanations. Because Luis was right. It wasn't about proving anything to them. It was about showing Zaria that he was choosing their ordinary life together, gossip and all. Love was a choice, and he was ready to make it publicly. Monday afternoon arrived with crisp autumn air and the kind of golden light that made everything look like a painting. At 3:05 p.m., Zaria stood outside Mia's elementary school, her hands shaking slightly as she waited by the gate. She'd gotten Evan's text an hour earlier. Meet us at pickup? Time for that walk. She knew what he meant, the walk he'd mentioned in his letter, through the busiest streets, past the neighbors who whispered with no apologies for choosing each other. The school doors opened, and children poured out in a stream of backpacks and chatter. Zaria spotted Mia immediately, her yellow ribbon bright against her dark hair, scanning the crowd for familiar faces. Miss Zaria! Mia broke into a run, launching herself into Zaria's arms. You got my letter. Daddy said you got my letter and you came to walk home with us. I did get your letter, Zaria said, hugging the little girl tight, and I loved it. Thank you for writing to me. I wrote it all by myself. Daddy helped with 2 words, but the rest was me. Evan approached more slowly, looking handsome in his work clothes, dark pants and a white button-down, his tie loosened after a day of meetings. When he reached them, he smiled. Hey, he said simply. Hey yourself. Zaria's heart was hammering, but her voice was steady. Ready for this? Are you? She thought about the letters she'd written, about Mrs. Patel's cookies and apology, about Keisha's fierce loyalty. She thought about Mia's small hand in hers and the way Evan had kissed her on the boardwalk, like she was something precious. Yes, she said, I'm ready. They started walking toward home, taking the longer route that led directly past their condo building. Mia skipped between them, completely oblivious to the significance of the moment. To her, this was just another ordinary day with 2 of her favorite people. Miss Zaria, Mia said as they turned onto Harbor Street, the busiest road in their neighborhood. Are you going to have dinner with us tonight? If your daddy says it's okay. It's more than okay, Evan said. We're having spaghetti with garlic bread. My favorite, Zaria smiled. They passed the corner market where Mr. Rodriguez was setting out fresh flowers. He looked up and waved. Beautiful afternoon for a family walk. It really is, Evan called back, not missing a beat. A few doors down, they encountered Mrs. Chen walking her small dog. Her eyes widened slightly when she saw the 3 of them together. Oh, hello, Zaria. Evan, Mia, sweetheart. Hi, Mrs. Chen, Mia said brightly. We're walking home together because we like each other. That's wonderful, dear. As they continued down the street, Zaria could feel eyes on them. Some curious, some kind, some probably judgmental. But instead of shrinking away from the attention, she found herself standing straighter. This was her choice. This was her family. They were almost to their building when they encountered the first real test. A woman Zaria recognized from the building chat, Mrs. Brennan from the 3rd floor, was coming out of the coffee shop with a friend. Well, well, Mrs. Brennan said loudly enough for everyone to hear. If it isn't our local celebrity couple. I saw you two made quite the impression online. Zaria felt Evan tense beside her, but before either of them could respond, Mia spoke up. Are you talking about our picture from the boardwalk? She asked, innocently. Daddy says people liked it because we look happy. And we are happy. Mrs. Brennan's friend looked embarrassed. She's adorable, she whispered. Thank you, Zaria said calmly to Mrs. Brennan. We are happy, and we hope you have a lovely afternoon. She took Mia's hand and kept walking, Evan falling into step beside her. Behind them, she could hear Mrs. Brennan's friend saying, That was completely unnecessary, Barbara. How did you do that? Evan asked quietly as they reached their building. Do what? Stay so calm. I was ready to say something I'd regret. Keisha told me something yesterday. She said I should stop defending myself to people who don't matter and focus on the two people who do. Zaria looked down at Mia, then up at Evan. You two matter. Everyone else is just noise. In the lobby, Mrs. Patel was checking her mail. She looked up as they entered, and Zaria braced herself for another awkward encounter. Instead, Mrs. Patel smiled warmly and handed Mia a small sticker, a golden star. For being brave, she told the little girl, and for having such good taste in walking companions. Thank you. Mia stuck the star carefully on her backpack. Mrs. Patel, are you coming to the Halloween party in the community room? I wouldn't miss it, dear. Are you dressing up? I'm going to be a marine biologist with a lab coat and everything. How perfect. You'll have to show me your costume when it's ready. As Mrs. Patel walked away, she caught Zaria's eye and nodded. A small gesture, but it felt like an apology and a blessing wrapped into one. That went better than expected, Evan said once they were alone in the elevator. People are complicated. Most of them just want to see other people be happy, even if they get distracted by drama sometimes. And the ones who don't? The ones who don't aren't our problem. Dinner that night was everything Zaria had hoped for, and more. Mia insisted on helping with the garlic bread, standing on a step stool at the counter and carefully spreading butter on each slice. Evan made the spaghetti sauce from scratch, filling the small apartment with the smell of tomatoes and herbs. And Zaria set the table, using Mia's special placemats with pictures of sea animals. They talked about school and work and weekend plans. Normal conversation, the kind families had every night across the world. But it felt precious to Zaria, like something she'd been waiting her whole life to be part of. After dinner, they tackled homework together, Mia's math worksheet about counting by fives. Then they built a blanket fort in the living room and read 2 chapters of Charlotte's Web. At 8 p.m., it was time for Mia's bedtime routine. She hugged Zaria goodnight, then whispered conspiratorially, I'm glad you decided to stay. Me too, sweetheart. Will you stay tomorrow too? We'll see, Zaria said diplomatically, glancing at Evan, but I'm not going anywhere. Once Mia was tucked in, Evan and Zaria settled on the couch with cups of tea. The blanket fort was still standing, and they could hear the soft sound of Mia humming herself to sleep. Thank you, Evan said quietly. For today, for the letters, for showing up even when things got complicated. Thank you for giving me the chance. I was thinking, Evan said, turning to face her, about what you said in your letter, about building a new world together. Yeah? I want to make this official, not rushing, not dramatic, just intentional. He reached over and took her hand. I want weekly dinners. I want Saturday morning pancakes. I want to know that when Mia has a nightmare or I have a bad day at work, you'll be there. Those sound like relationship guardrails, Zaria said, smiling. Exactly. Because we're going to do this right. For Mia, for us, for all those neighbors who are apparently invested in our success. What does doing it right look like? Tuesday and Thursday dinners here. Saturday morning family time, pancakes, playground, whatever Mia wants to do. No sleepovers until we're both ready for that conversation with her. And maybe, he paused, looking suddenly shy. Maybe we ignore the building group chat for a while? I deleted the app yesterday. Smart woman. Evan lifted their joined hands and kissed her knuckles. I also want you to meet my mother properly. She's coming for Thanksgiving, and she specifically asked if she'd get to meet the woman who makes me smile like an idiot. She said that. Her words, not mine, though apparently I do smile like an idiot when I talk about you. Good, Zarya said, leaning over to kiss him softly. Because I'm pretty gone on you too. They talked for another hour, making plans and setting boundaries and imagining a future that felt both exciting and comfortable. When Zarya finally left at 9:40 p.m., it was with the promise of Thursday dinner and Saturday morning pancakes and a lifetime of ordinary days that felt anything but ordinary. Thursday evening found them back around Evan's small dining table, this time with baked chicken, rice, and green beans. Mia chattered about her friend Sophie's pet hamster and the art project they were working on in class, an ocean diorama that required careful attention to the food chain. Miss Zarya, Mia said seriously, spooning rice onto her fork, do you know about food chains? I know a little bit. Tell me what you've learned. Well, the little fish eat the tiny plants, and the big fish eat the little fish, and the sharks eat the big fish. But then the sharks die and become food for the tiny plants again. It's like a circle. That's exactly right. Everything in nature is connected. Our family's like that too, connected in circles. Zarya glanced at Evan, who was watching the conversation with soft eyes. How do you mean, sweetheart? Like, daddies take care of little girls, and then when little girls grow up, they take care of their daddies when they get old. And then maybe they have little girls of their own to take care of. It's like a family circle. I think that's a beautiful way to think about it. Where do you fit in the circle, Miss Zarya? The question caught Zarya off guard. She looked at Evan again, this time seeing something vulnerable and hopeful in his expression. I think, she said carefully, that sometimes circles expand to include new people who want to be part of taking care of each other. Like how we adopted Sparkles at school. Mia referenced their classroom guinea pig. Something like that, yes. Good. I want you in our circle. After dinner, they worked on Mia's diorama together. Zarya helped paint tiny fish while Evan figured out how to attach plastic seaweed to the bottom of a shoebox. Mia narrated the entire process, explaining which creatures went where and why. At one point, Mia coughed, the dry little cough that meant her asthma was acting up. Evan immediately got up to get her inhaler, but Zarya was already reaching for the water bottle they kept on the side table. Here, sweetheart. Small sips. Evan paused, inhaler in hand, and watched Zarya help his daughter breathe easier. No fuss, no panic, just calm competence and gentle care. Better? Zarya asked. Better, thanks, Miss Zarya. Always. When Evan's eyes met Zarya's over Mia's head, she saw something that looked like amazement. What? She asked quietly. You knew exactly what to do. I've been paying attention. No, it's more than that. You're part of this now. Part of us. At 8:15 p.m., as Mia was getting ready for bed, Evan walked Zarya to the door. Tomorrow night too? She asked. Tomorrow night too, and Saturday morning pancakes, and Sunday boardwalk walks. He paused. And maybe next week we talk to Mia about making some of this more permanent. More permanent how? Like maybe having your own drawer in our dresser, maybe keeping a toothbrush here, maybe helping me explain to a 6-year-old that sometimes adults who love each other very much decide to build a life together. Zarya felt her heart skip. Evan, I'm not saying tomorrow, I'm not saying rush, but I am saying that when I imagine our future, it looks like this. Tuesday chicken dinners and Saturday pancake mornings, and helping with ocean dioramas for the rest of our lives. That sounds perfect, she whispered. Yeah? Yeah, exactly what I prayed for once I learned how. Their kiss goodnight was soft and full of promise. When Zarya walked downstairs to her own apartment, she was already mentally rearranging her schedule to include Tuesday and Thursday dinners, Saturday morning family time, and all the beautiful ordinary moments that made up a life shared with people you loved. 2 months later, the late December snow was falling softly outside the marina boardwalk as Zarya, Evan, and Mia met up with Mrs. Patel for their weekly Saturday afternoon walk. It had become a tradition. The 4 of them bundled up against the cold, stopping for hot chocolate and watching the boats in the harbor. Miss Zarya, Mia said, her mittened hand secure in Zarya's, Mrs. Patel says there's going to be a summer potluck at the community hall. That sounds fun. It's only December though, sweetheart. Summer is still a ways away. But we can plan. Can we bring our famous potato salad? Our potato salad, Zarya smiled at Evan over Mia's head. The kind we make together, Mia said matter-of-factly, with the little pieces of egg and the celery that's not too crunchy. Daddy can't make it right by himself, but you two together make it perfect. I think that sounds like an excellent plan, Evan said. They stopped at their favorite bench overlooking the water, and Mrs. Patel pulled out her phone. Photo time, she announced, for my holiday cards. They arranged themselves on the bench, Evan on one side, Zarya on the other, Mia between them, Mrs. Patel settling beside Evan with a satisfied smile. Say family, Mrs. Patel instructed. Family, Mia shouted, throwing her arms wide. As Mrs. Patel reviewed the photo, Zarya looked around at these people who had become her world. Evan, solid and steady in his wool coat, his arm around her shoulders. Mia, bright-eyed and bundled in her pink jacket, chattering about the seagulls brave enough to walk on the snowy boardwalk. Mrs. Patel, who had become their unofficial grandmother, always ready with homemade treats and gentle wisdom. Perfect, Mrs. Patel declared, showing them the photo on her phone screen. And it was perfect, Zarya thought. Not the polished, posed kind of perfect she'd once aimed for, but the real kind. The kind that came from choosing each other every day through gossip and misunderstandings in ordinary Tuesday night dinners. Can we feed the ducks? Mia asked, even though they all knew the ducks had migrated south for the winter. The ducks are on vacation, remember? Evan said gently. They'll be back in spring. Like a circle, Mia said wisely. They go away, but they always come back home. Just like families, Zarya said, squeezing Mia's hand. Exactly like families, Evan agreed. As they started the walk back, Mia skipped ahead, calling back facts about bird migration that she'd learned in school. Mrs. Patel walked with purpose, planning their route to avoid the iciest patches, and Evan and Zarya walked hand in hand, comfortable in their shared silence. You know what I realized? Zarya said eventually. What's that? I spent so much time looking for someone who would fit into my life that I never thought about building a completely new life with someone, a better one. And this is better. This ordinary, complicated, beautiful life we're building together. She stopped walking and turned to face him. I love you, Evan Hart. I love you too, Zarya Cole. Ahead of them, Mia had stopped to examine something in the snow. Daddy, Miss Zarya, come look. I think it's a shell. They hurried over to see what she'd found, a small piece of sea glass, frosted blue and worn smooth by years of waves. It's beautiful, Zarya said, like a little piece of the ocean. Can I keep it? Of course, Evan said. But what will you do with it? Mia considered this seriously, turning the sea glass over in her mittened hands. I think I'll put it on my windowsill, she said finally. So when I wake up in the morning, I can remember that beautiful things come from the ocean, and that's where we found each other, by the water. That's very wise, Zarya said, her throat tight with emotion. Can we come back tomorrow and look for more? Tomorrow's Sunday, Evan said. Perfect day for beach glass hunting. Will you come too, Miss Zarya? I'll be there, Zarya promised. Every Sunday, as long as you'll have me. Forever and ever. Forever and ever. As they walked home through the softly falling snow, past neighbors who waved and smiled, past the building where they'd first met and fallen in love, Zarya thought about circles. The way Mia had described families, the way the ducks would return in spring, the way love had brought them back to each other stronger than before. She thought about the woman she'd been just months ago, polished and professional and afraid to take up too much space in someone else's world. And she thought about the woman she was becoming, brave enough to build something new, patient enough to tend it carefully, strong enough to weather any storm that came their way. When they reached their building, Mia ran ahead to show the doorman her piece of sea glass. Evan and Zarya followed more slowly, their hands linked, their hearts full. So, Evan said as they stood in the warm lobby, shaking snow from their coats. Ready for Sunday pancakes? Ready for Sunday pancakes and Monday morning coffee and Tuesday night dinner. Zarya smiled up at him. Ready for all of it? Good, he said, kissing her forehead. Because I'm thinking this might be a pretty great life we're building together. The best, she agreed, and as they rode the elevator up to their floor now, officially, since Zarya had given up her lease and moved into a bigger apartment in the same building to accommodate their growing family, she realized that sometimes the best love stories weren't about finding someone who completed you. They were about finding someone who inspired you to become the person you were meant to be, then building something beautiful together, one ordinary day at a time. Outside, the snow continued to fall, blanketing their small coastal city in quiet beauty. And inside, three people who had chosen to become a family settled in for the evening. Homework and bath time and bedtime stories, all the sweet routine of lives intertwined. Perfect in its simplicity, rich in its love, ordinary in the most extraordinary way.